What's going on today, guys? It's Thursday, February 27th. You guys are tuned into the Bengals show today. We're going to be talking everything Bengals football. I want to kind of just get the conversation going with all my fellow Bengals fans out there. I know this has been quite the offseason to start. We got a lot of stuff on our plate. We're trying to figure out what the hell went wrong last year. And that starts right now with the scouting combine. And just recently, Duke Tobin, director of player personnel for the Bengals, spoke at the podium. Same with Zach Taylor. So I wanted to kind of take a listen in and react to some of these things that's being said because I think we can collectively all say that we're a little stressed out with what's going on this offseason. And I want to get some of your thoughts on kind of where this team is going, what we need to do, and I want to give you my thoughts on what I think the Bengals should be doing just from my perspective. And it doesn't have to be too complicated, but let's kind of take a look here. Let's dive in. I got it right here. We're going to take a listen to Duke Tobin talking at the scouting combine here, and then we'll go through it. Start this up.
Yeah, sure. I'll start with just a couple comments, and then you guys can fire off your questions. Hugely disappointed. All of us with the Bengals are very disappointed in the season, as disappointed as our fans are. We have super high expectations for our football team. We believe we have a championship caliber football team. Our fans believe that as well. We did not achieve what we wanted to achieve. While we finished the year with 5 straight wins, in the middle of the season we managed to turn wins into losses. 7 times we did that, and it kept us out of a shot to win the championship. We believe we're a championship caliber team, and we'll go to work and put it back together in the best way, and we'll compete for the championship next year. And with that, I'll take your questions.
All right, so before we dive into anything here, I want to kind of touch on what he just said. He believes that we're a championship caliber team. I think the first thing that stands out is team is a collection of individuals, right? We have a championship level quarterback and skill position players on this team, but collectively as a whole, roster-wise, especially with the way the defense played, you can't really say that. And what they did last year with assembling this team and just kind of, taking the guys that were there and not being proactive about some of the positions that we needed filled, like the defensive line, like our guard position. We just rolled in expecting Joe Burrow to carry the team, and he did that. We have the offensive talent there, no questions asked. But you can't just roll into it and expect him to carry everything. And I think, that showed this year. And he did say there was a stretch in the middle of the season there where it really was a head scratcher how they even lost some of these games. It was truly remarkable this season. But let's keep diving into kind of some of the stuff he's saying and kind of build off of that.
Paulie D, why don't you start us off? Whatever you want to talk about, Paulie.
Where are you at with T. Higgins? Where do you feel like that stands, or do you think that's something you get done?
Yeah, T. Higgins. Seems like 3 or 4 or 5 years I've been talking about T. I think you guys all know what I feel about T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins is a fantastic football player, and I want him on my football team. Whenever I'm in charge of a football team, I want T. Higgins. And so I'm going to do what I can to get T. Higgins. Our preference with T. Higgins is to do a long-term agreement. Always has been. It continues to be, and we'll work hard to get that done. We are fortunate. We've got a lot of really good football players. Fantastic football players.
Yeah, you
and
do.
We're fortunate to be in a position to where we can fit them all in. And we've managed our cap well. We've got low dead money. We want a high payroll and low dead money so the people that are in Cincinnati playing for us can get all the money. That's what we want. And we're in a position to re-sign these guys. And it's a good position to be in. It really is. And we're going to attack it. And hopefully, we don't want to just re-sign these guys and pay more for the same football team we had last year. We want to add to it as well. So we want to re-sign these guys, reward them for their ability level, and add to the football team. So it's a tall task. We think we're up to it, and Katie's got us in position to attack it well.
Oh, man. Okay, so clearly the narrative here is they want to attack what their best players are, right? They want to re-sign their best players. So the way Duke Tobin is speaking about this right now is night and day from what he said last year. Last year he was talking about like, oh, there's only so much piece of pie to go around, yada, yada, yada. Didn't sound as confident with what he was doing, but this time around you can clearly see that sounds like a priority anyway. Whether that's lip service, which these guys are great at doing, I have no idea, and I think we're all holding our breath. We want to see action, and I think the biggest thing for me, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow said it best, man. He's a need. The way that this offense functions and the identity of this team includes T. Higgins in it. And you can talk about, oh, you can't pay 2 number 1 receivers, this and that. They fumbled last year not getting some of these contracts figured out. The more they push this back, the more they get behind the 8 ball, and that's what happens, unfortunately. But I think with the way Duke is talking about this, it seems like it's a priority to sign these guys, T. Higgins included, and get these deals done because they are key pieces of the identity of this team. Like I said, not every team is built the same. And when it comes to Cincinnati, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Trey Hendrickson, these are the big pieces of this team, and they need to be re-signed. You can't just fluff these guys off this time around. The salary cap has gone up. There's no excuses. There's your money right there for T. And the sooner you get this deal done, the more you can figure out how to allocate the cap, get the rest of the contracts done. To me, it doesn't seem so complicated, and it shouldn't be this complicated. So let's kind of keep diving into what he has to say here moving forward. I think this is going to be a common theme in this press conference.
Franchise tag? Yeah, I don't have breaking news on that. I'm aware that I have a franchise tag, yes. But
so when he's talking franchise tag, yeah, you got to franchise tag T. Higgins. You can't just let him walk. That's the only way you get leverage. So I think we know right now T. Higgins is going to get franchise tagged. Now, it being Thursday, February 27th, unless these guys come to a long-term deal sooner rather than later, he will be franchise tagged. It would just be malpractice for them to let him walk completely free and not either sign to a long-term or franchise tag him.
Our preference is a long-term deal, and that's what our focus is right now.
So let's get it done, Duke.
Yeah, I'm optimistic until there's reason not to be, and I've always been optimistic with T, and I want a long-term deal. You know, he fits with us, and we fit with him. It's a great match, and so there's no reason not to work hard to continue the relationship for sure. Yeah. Yeah, you know, obviously T is the one that's not signed for the future right now, and so that you know, puts the onus on us to do something there one way or the other earlier. Jamar is always going to be our priority. He's a fantastic football player. He's going to end up being the number 1 paid non-quarterback in the league. We're there. Let's get it done. The earlier we can do some of this stuff, the freer it gives us to build the rest of the team. We have other needs that we want to build.
So you heard it there first. The earlier they get this stuff done, the earlier they can focus on the other needs like he's talking about. Now, this is the problem I have is let's actually see how quick they can do these deals. They've had an entire offseason already. Entire, I guess, post-secondary time window here to work on these things while other teams were in the playoffs. So they already have a step up on these other teams. And they should have already been working and putting this stuff together, and you can't let this stuff play out. And this is what I'm worried about because of the way that these guys do business deals, how they do contracts with players. This is kind of what I'm on the edge of my seat for, and I don't know how you guys feel, Bengals fans out there collectively, but this is what I'm looking for is like, okay, how aggressive can they be in getting these contracts done? Because that is what I need to see out of these guys.
And so we want to get these kind of things done early enough to where we can really focus on building out the rest of the football team. But they're all priorities to us. But the ones that aren't signed are the ones that are on the table first. What was that? A signed contract, I guess, is the only way I can answer that. What needs to happen? That's what needs to happen. Has anything changed? Well, he's got a new representation, so maybe that'll push it over. I don't know, but well, we can run parallel paths with the same representation, and that's what we'll do. But I'm optimistic. I want deals done, just like our quarterback wants deals done. Everything he says, I agree with. I want them done. I want the best players available. And I also want to add more players to our team. Again, I don't want to just pay more money for the same team we had last year. We have other needs, and I want to go after those needs as well.
Oh, man. So I want to touch on this quickly, and it's just like running parallel paths was what they were doing. Clearly what they were doing last time around wasn't working. You had T switching to Jamar's agent. Now, you can say what you want about that, but to me, that seems like they're trying to make this work. Now, when I look at these guys, they have the cap space. We are top 10 in cap space in the league currently. The cap just went up. We have no problem paying Jamar what he's worth, like he just said. Top paid player in the league other than a quarterback, and you can pay T. Higgins what he is worth, his market value, and you can structure these deals appropriately. It's the same thing with Trey Hendrickson. There should be no problem paying them what they're worth. Now, I don't care what area or field you work in. If your employer invests in you as an employee, you're going to be more inclined to put it all out there for them. And that's the same thing here with T. Higgins, Jamar, these guys that play for the Bengals. It's stop nickel and diming these guys. They are your team, your identity. They are the reason you're in the position you're in. Pay them their market value, show them your support, and I promise you it will play out on the field as you want it to. So if you guys just go to bat for these players, if Duke, everybody in that front office just goes to bat for these guys, shows them what they're worth, invests in them, I promise you the product on this field will be tenfold.
No. We're in a good situation with our cap and how we've managed our cap to get these other things done without any adjustment there. What do I see? What do I think when I see Joe? I think there's our quarterback, and I'm glad we have him. And I haven't heard anything he said
Better not take it for granted,
I'm not
guys.
in complete alignment on. I want the good players too, and I think that they ought to be paid to their ability level, and that's what we're going to do. The questions on how re-signing them is going to impact our ability to build the defense. I think we have ability to build the defense if we can get clarity on it and structure them in a way that is beneficial. But if they linger, it kind of creates a little bit of uncertainty. But we're going to attack the defense, and we already have. We know our defense wasn't good enough. It couldn't get stops when we needed it, couldn't protect leads, it didn't get off the field. And then, in critical moments when the game was on the line, It didn't rise to the occasion. 4th and 16 against Kansas City. That's one play. We win one game. Now we're in the playoffs. But that's countless games throughout the year, whether it's our offense converting a first down to run the clock out to win the game, whether it's our special teams converting a field goal to win the game, but multiple times, a fumble going into the end zone, all the things that happened. It was a crazy year. We're a championship level team that didn't get an opportunity, and that irritates us. It irritates all of us. It irritates our fans, and we're not happy about it. And we're going to attack the offseason to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Okay, so let's turn to this and let's talk about the defense quickly here, as he mentioned. I actually don't I understand the defense was completely atrocious, but I think we understand kind of what the problem is, and they were very lax about approaching that last season, and that's the product you get. You let your good players walk. That's what you're going to get. Now, based on last season, it's funny that he uses the Kansas City game as an example because you get a shitty flag, but all in all, the defense actually played a pretty good game when it came to that Kansas City game. And the problem there was, we had the fumble, we gave the possession back to the Chiefs, and we had the ball in our hands again, and we couldn't close out the game. And I think that was more of a common theme with the Bengals this year. As bad as the defense was, there was a lot of things to look at too, specifically controlling the clock and the game as a whole on the offensive side of the ball. And I think that is actually a bigger problem when it comes to this, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. But when you look at the defense, they just didn't – we knew the problems that the defensive line had going into this past season. We didn't address that, man. You let DJ Reader walk, and we just had subpar play from that defensive line. We couldn't get pressure. And when I look at the defense as a whole, we're putting so much of this narrative around the defense. To me, when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl a few years ago, it's not like their defense was top 10. They had a middle-of-the-pack defense. They just made plays when they needed to. And they created turnovers when they needed to. I remember that team was from in between the 20s, we'd give up a lot of yardage. But when it came down to the red zone, we'd get the turnovers. We'd make the plays when we need to, and that's kind of the difference. Whereas last year was just the opposite. We gave up all the plays in big moments, and that's why we lost these games. And if we take a look at the defense as a whole right now, we know the priority is the defensive line, right? And we're good. We already got rid of Sheldon Rankings, so we got to address the interior. Sam Hubbard should be cut. I don't know when that's going to happen, if he's going to restructure his deal, what's going on, but he'll be off the books as well. We need to find a new edge. It's the defensive line, to me, that's the biggest problem, because the lack of pressure generated gave quarterbacks, mid-level quarterbacks too, all day to throw the football. And I don't care how good your secondary is. If you can't get pressure on the quarterback, if you can't disrupt plays, it's just not going to do any favors for the secondary. And you got these guys running around. Eventually, quarterback's going to find somebody open because he's got all day to throw the ball. So to me, it was the defensive line that was the biggest problem. I don't think the secondary is the problem. I know you could always ask for better players there, sure. But to me, it's just the lack of pressure. They got nobody with a motor on that defensive line. And that's just the cause of all their problems. I couldn't tell you how many times you'd watch these highlight reel clips where, like that one with Lamar Jackson where he stiff-armed Sam Hubbard. The amount of time these quarterbacks get when they play us is just ridiculous. And that's what needs to be addressed more so this year. It really sucks you can't hear the questions too well in this.
Do we have to get creative structure in the contracts? Well, sure. I mean, you're always creative because the other side wants you to be creative. And so we're going to do what we can to satisfy whoever we're negotiating with to get a deal done. And I hope they recognize, the restrictors we have. A negotiation is just that. It's a negotiation. It's not a I ask and you say yes. And we don't expect them to just do what we want, and they have to expect some negotiation because we're putting together a big picture, and our players want a good football team, and we're going to attack that and respect that, and also respect the level of production and ability level our players have. We're not trying to insult anybody, particularly at the top of our football team. We're fortunate to have fantastic football players, and we're going to treat them as such.
So they're talking about creativity with the contracts. They're probably alluding to the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles, teams like that, use void years and they restructure contracts into guaranteed money. And I think that's something that, if you want to be a successful team and have good players, just like the Eagles, Exhibit A, you got to be willing to take shots and do things like that. And that's what they should be doing with Burrow, Chase, Higgins, is structuring these contracts so that, number one, you're constantly getting some more off the books by turning it into signing bonuses and giving this upfront money, which is something the Bengals have not been good at. So it's going to be up to them to adapt, man, because that's ultimately what's going to fuel the team that's going to be successful.
Any progress with Trey's reps in terms of the extension comparison? Has been progress?
Trey? Yeah, Trey's super passionate. It's exactly what makes him a great football player, and he is super engaged, and we're cognizant. He's been a great signing for us. We've been a great fit for him. He's been a great fit for us. We would like to extend that. We would like to keep him not only happy but with us on a longer-term basis. And we're going to talk. He's under contract right now, and we're going to talk as the offseason goes, and hopefully come up to an agreement that everyone's acceptable of, but are we there yet? We're not there yet.
Better figure it out. He's the best defensive player you got, and he's a locker room guy, man. You need guys like
questions
that.
on Mike Gesicki and where does that fit? We've been pretty good at bringing tight ends in and having them have successful seasons. Mike was fantastic for us. I think Mike's a priority guy for us. I think he fits with us. I think he found out he fits with us. Tight ends tend to fit with us. We got Joe Burrow, and we value them in our game plans and how we structure our offense. And Mike was a great fit. And to Mike's credit, he came in, bought in, learned quickly, and fit right in. And so it's a great match. I'd love to have Mike Gesicki back, and we're going to work to try to do that. And we'll see if it can happen.
All right, let's talk tight end here quickly. Yeah, Mike was great, and obviously you get Joe Burrow. He's going to make the players around him a lot better. The problem with Mike is he's a little bit more one-dimensional. He's kind of more like a third receiver in a sense. He's a big body. They can utilize him down the middle a lot. But the problem with Mike is just like his inability to be productive in the blocking game. And I think that's something that they lack. They're always bringing in, you see Drew Sample come in. They have to shuffle their tight ends so much. They don't have a guy that can really block and be a receiving threat too, which doesn't exactly help. The unfortunate thing with Eric All was he was going to be that guy. He looked tremendous. Towards ACL again. Really hope that he can come back and have a successful career for us, because he was really looking like that tight end that could be a dual threat. He could block tremendously. He was great at catching running routes as well, and that's really what they need, is somebody that can be on the field and be used in more of a dynamic role than some of these one-dimensional tight ends.
Have I talked to Joe Burrow? Yeah, I talk to him a lot. I mean, he's a member of our team, and he's an important partner in what we're doing. And I value his input. He's earned that. Chase Brown? Yeah, we really had a lot of hope for Chase, and he kind of made us right this year. He's a guy that early in the draft process we liked, because he was kind of dynamic outside of the core and also inside the core. Really, really bright, really energetic. He's really progressed in his pass receiving skills, and then he's coming along as a pass protector, and so he's a really good fit. We put a big load on him this year, more load than what we had thought we were going to put on him, and he responded to it, and he held up, and that was an important part of our late finish.
Yeah, Chase looks good.
Can a running back go number one overall? I don't know. I guess if Walter Payton were in this draft, I might think about taking him number one overall. But our game's changed a lot, and so you'd have to be pretty special. I think quarterbacks have that kind of on lock, or maybe a great pass rusher, or maybe a guy that plays 6 positions like the one at my alma mater. But we'll see.
How involved is ownership in these high-level re-signings? One of your conversations around free agency been like
With our ownership, how involved are they? Highly involved. They're there every day, and they've been there every day of their careers, and they'll continue to do that, and they're super good at what they do.
I don't know if super good's the right terminology here, Duke. Sorry, buddy. Remains to be seen.
Yeah, the Eagles. Hats off to them. They've done a great job building their roster out,
Here we go.
and they've
Let's
got some high-level players on big deals. Not as big as the deals that we're talking about making, but
but whose fault is that, Duke?
And then they've hit on draft picks, and that's what we've got to do. We've hit on some draft picks. We've got some guys that are in the pipeline coming.
Yeah, let's talk about that quick. Jalen Hurts has the same, pretty much just under average that Joe Burrow does, so you can't really say that. And the fact that they have guys on lesser contracts is because they got the deals done ahead of time. So when he makes remarks like that, you made your bed, pal. The reason you're paying these contracts is because you were late to making them in the first place.
In the last 5 games, I think some of our young guys started to come, which was great on the defensive side of the ball. And then we mentioned, Chase and, Eric All. It was unfortunate that he got hurt, but he was on pace to really be a dynamic tight end in our league. And I think Amarius Mims has a chance to be a Pro Bowler next year. He's a fan.
Gotta love when the camera goes out. Sorry about that, guys. Let's get back to this.
Hold up potential, but the young DBs, we'll get them back healthy. That'll be good. Young guys like DJ Ivey and Fig Newton having to take on bigger roles. But some of those young guys got a taste of winning because we won the last 5 games and gave ourselves a chance, and they had to be relied on for a role, and so that was good to see. But hats off to Philly. My son works there, and he thinks he's the reason for the season, I think.
Philly is the blueprint.
What was that again? Yeah. Al
allude to
Golden
that
coming
later
on.
as
Yeah.
well.
Al is super hands-on. And we want our coaches to be super hands-on. We want to be in alignment when we take a guy. We want a vision for him, and we want everybody on board. Everybody that touches that guy is on board with it, knows the plan, and is going to work towards the plan. And Al is super engaged, super high energy, hands-on, knows exactly what he wants. His coaches know what he wants. So it's going to be great working with him. Looking forward to it. I think he would have a pretty good idea of what's playing on the college level right now.
Yes, sir, Mr. Al Golden.
Yeah. Yeah, it's valuable that he's got that experience. He's going to have recruited a lot of these guys. He's going to have played against a lot of these guys. He's going to have game planned against a lot of these guys. And so what he knows, we'll download, and he won't be shy to help us. It's a collaboration with our coaching staff and our personnel staff. And we want alignment. If there's not alignment, we're going to find it, and we're going to make sure that everyone sees what the other is seeing. And then if we can't find alignment, we'll go in a different direction. But, we want that alignment, and it's been great working with Al so far.
Yeah, this is interesting. We can actually kind of connect on the new hiring here. Al Golden coming from Notre Dame. He's going to be our defensive coordinator. He was actually our linebackers coach for those of you that are watching. He was the linebackers coach for the Bengals when we went to the Super Bowl. So he is familiar, obviously, with the organization. And now, like Duke was alluding to there, he's going to have a little bit more of an insight when it comes to some of these defensive players coming out of the draft. And I think the big thing here is we just touched on the Eagles. The reason that they can pay all their guys is because of the fact that they drafted such good talent on the defensive side of things, right? I think the Bengals are in the exact same spot. This should be a very heavy defensive draft. I already mentioned that I'm not too concerned about the secondary. I'm more concerned about that defensive line and the linebacking core. We need more athleticism. We need guys that are more dynamic and can make plays and can get pressure on the quarterback. We need to disrupt the opposing team's offenses, and that should be our goal in this draft. The list of prospects is deep as hell this year when it comes to the defensive line. So we need to utilize that, use this draft to go rebuild this defensive line. And I promise you it's not going to be as hard to get back to being that championship level team if we can just nail this draft. And that's the big thing, right? Because we're not great at doing that. We've used, I guess, the last 4 out of 5 first-round picks, or 3 out of 4 first-round picks. They're defensive players. And I bet you couldn't even tell me, if you weren't a Bengals fan, you couldn't even tell me who they are because they're not standout players yet. And that goes to show, like, we haven't been great at drafting, and that's the reason we're in this hole. So I think you pay the offensive side of the ball because that's clearly what the identity of this team is, and you start to fill in these holes by drafting talented players at these positions.
What gives us confidence that we can pay high levels to our high-level players? Well, I guess it'll just be the proof is in the pudding. You know, what gives us confidence that we can do that? We believe we can do it, and we believe we can fit other things in too. But we'll see how it all nets out at the end.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I don't think it has really any effect. I think, the question is on whether one agent with 2 players has an effect on the pace, and I don't think so. I think most agents are pretty accustomed to working parallel paths, and so they're just working parallel paths within themselves.
Oh, yeah, this is where the clip blacks out a little bit.
That come in and look that they would like to. So we'll see. You know, with Joseph, with B.J. Hill, we've got other guys who are up that we like as football players that we would like to have back. And it's just a matter of finding out what the price is and how it fits with the big picture. But those guys are guys that we value. Questions on whether Al will play more young players. I think Al will play the best players. He's going to want guys that execute what he wants. And if he wants you playing blocks and staying square, he's going to play the guy that plays blocks and stays square. If he wants you to secure the edge, he's going to play the guy that makes sure the edge is secured. If he wants you to play man cover and stay in inside technique, he's going to play the guy that does that. Al's going to be very open-minded on playing the best, not playing a veteran or playing a rookie. It'll be he's the best one we have, and we're going to play with him.
I love all the shots these guys are taking because they just know our organization.
I think we'll see. I think we'll see. We've kind of hit on that. Can we get the big contracts done and still have room to do other things? I'm hopeful. That's what I started with. I'm very hopeful that we can do that. Yeah, we have the ability. We've managed our cap well. We have low dead money, and we're going to attack it, and hopefully we'll be able to do it.
When you look at defensive line in the draft, right? This is one of the best draft classes we see. What do you value?
Just like he said, one of the best draft classes. James Pierce, that guy just ran a nasty 42.
Defensive, like an edge guy, an interior guy. There's like 5 positions within the defensive line. So what we value on the
we need
defensive
'em
line
all,
depends on what technique the guy's playing. Now, we'd like a guy to be able to play a wide 9 and a nose and everything in between, but we haven't found one that can really do that. But the edge guy, so, if you're looking for a rusher, we want guys that get off the ball fast, guys that can threaten the edge and then have a second move, have
Guys
a second
with a little
move,
bit more
have
of
a
a motor.
plan. You have to be fast, you have to be flexible, you have to have great balance, and you got to have a plan. But you got to be able to get off the ball to threaten the guy, or he's going to sit on you.
Going back to your comments on Chase Brown, don't consider the very large contract that he'll
The question's on, do our veteran contracts change the way we approach the draft? No. I mean, we approach the draft, we rank every position best to worst for us, and we approach the draft as we're going to take the best guy. Now, if there's guys in the same bucket, we'll maybe take a guy that fits us at the moment a little better than another, but we're not going to pass up a whole bucket to drop down to take a guy that fits the need. We're looking at them from top down, we're ranking them from top down, and we let the draft come to us. If we need to move up to get a guy who's the last of the Mohicans, we'll consider doing that. If we feel like we can move down because there's a lot of players left that we would be pleased to have, we might do that. But we rank them 1 to worst.
I don't know if that's accurate. These guys have whiffed so many times on talented players because they've taken need over talented, the most talented players available on the draft board. So we'll see how that shakes out this year.
back to your comments on Chase Brown's workload last season. Comfortable with that degree again next year, or how do you envision the running back position?
I think we'll have an addition at some point. Yeah, it was a shame that Zach had the neck injury he had. We really thought he was an excellent addition for us, and then there was just nothing. He had to protect his neck, and it just we'll see what that looks like going forward. I don't know that we have clarity on that. Will his workload stay at the same level? Ideally, you'd want a second guy to take some of that workload off.
I don't see Zach Moss.
He surprised us, and he showed us that he can handle that. And if he can handle it, and he's the best guy for the moment, then he'll be in the game.
How would you characterize Al Holden? How would you characterize his input when it comes to free agency and draft and
How often do I ask for Al's input on the defensive players in free agency and the draft? All the time. All the time. We want alignment. We want alignment. He'll ask for our thoughts, and we'll ask for his thoughts, and we'll put them together and see where they merge. And then, the thing that we know maybe is the market for these guys and how best to spend the dollars. And we can help with that, and he can help with his vision for the player. What do we do with this guy when we pay him, when we bring him in the building? So, yeah, it's a collaborative approach there, too.
Interesting.
How much weight do we put on the 40? Depends on the position. I mean, I don't put a ton of weight on the 40 if it doesn't match up with what I see on tape. It has to match up with what I see on tape. If it doesn't, then I'm going with what I see on tape. Football is a short area, speed, burst game. It's not there just aren't the occasions to run 40 like that. You might like that in your running back, and you can consider him a home run threat if he can't get run down. But the short area speed burst is what's really important in my mind. But the 40 depends on the position you're playing.
Yeah, the 40 doesn't really hold a lot of weight. Pretty irrelevant in my opinion. Just doesn't translate to the game of football.
What was that? One more time? Interior offensive line? Yeah.
Offensive
our offense was pretty darn dynamic last year, and I know our offensive line gets beat on from time to time. We had to substitute guys in. We had a ton of injuries. We put a lot of pressure on our guys with how we play, but at the same time, we score points like nobody's business. and we move the ball like nobody's business, and we throw the ball like nobody's
in spite
business.
of your problems.
And the offensive line is half of that group. And so
Doesn't
the
mean they're good.
criticism's fine. We could be a little better here or a little better there, but our offense is pretty good, and half of it was our offensive line. And I give them credit for that. I don't beat on them. Now, speaking out of the other side of my mouth, can we improve some of those spots? Maybe, yeah. Are we looking? Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I don't know. But we're looking at every position. You know, I don't think we're looking to take a quarterback at the top of the first, but other than that, we're looking at every position.
Oh, man, this is where I got some beef. I have some beef with the way that he answered this question. To me, I think the most important thing the Bengals need to do is to address the guard position. I already alluded to this earlier. I don't think the defense was specifically to blame last year, and this is the thing with this offense is I don't even think, like, all you need is a middle-of-the-pack defense to hang in. I think the big problem with the Cincinnati Bengals last year was the lack of play from the guard position. And it really limits this team's ability in the run game and pass blocking as well. But when you have a quarterback like Joe Burrow and the way that he plays, yeah, you got Duke talking here about we throw the ball a lot, like that's what we do. Yeah, you also put a lot of pressure on your quarterback, and he's been hit way too many times. So if you want to look at longevity, the comparisons between Burrow and Andrew Luck and all of that, like Burrow is not Andrew Luck. Burrow is going to be a far better quarterback when it's all said and done. But the way that this is playing out, yeah, you can draw comparisons because you need to protect the quarterback. And I think the way that they play football, regardless of how good Joe Burrow is, he's amazing at getting the ball out quick and very accurate with it. And I think he's the best quarterback in the league by far when it comes to that. And you saw what happened to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl when, yeah, you got some pressure in your face, you can't get that ball out. It's what happens. And I think you do need better receivers to be able to play that style of ball because you need receivers to win and win fast. And that's our style of offense. That's how we play. But if you just upgrade the guard position and you can run the ball more effectively, that takes the stress off Joe Burrow and ultimately unlocks what he can do down the field with some of these receivers. And I think that is the key to the Bengals offense getting to that next level and being completely dominant, is being able to run that ball effectively. And not only that, we've talked about the amount of times that we've lost these close games. I'm not going to blame the defense for that. To me, I think it's their inability to run the ball and control the game. And there's a handful of these. You can look at the Chargers game. You can look at both Ravens games, perfect examples, up by double digits, and you just can't run the ball effectively to chew clock and control the game. Like, that's what you're going to get. The way you beat teams like that, the way you beat Lamar Jackson, is you keep them on the sideline. And you can't do that when you're constantly throwing all the time. But also the problem, the best example I can think of is you go to that last game of the season, Pittsburgh. What happens is we get the ball back 2.5 minutes to go, right? It's 1st and 10, 2.5 minutes to go. Ideally, in that situation, you have a lead, 2.5 minutes to go. You just got the ball. Pittsburgh has 3 timeouts. What are you trying to do? Because what Cincinnati did was they came out in shotgun formation and threw the ball 3 straight times. And if that doesn't say exactly what point I'm trying to make here, I don't know what else to say. You need to have an effective run game, especially with all the talk of the 2 high safeties. Oh, well, they play cover 2. Yeah, well, you know how you beat cover 2? You run the ball effectively. That's not going to allow them to just sit 2 safeties up high. They're going to want to bring another guy into the box. So to me, it's you need to fix the guard position, number 1, bar none, and you need to improve this running game, and you need to make this offense more effective, because I think you just need a middle-of-the-pack defense, and if this team can control the clock and run the ball a little bit more effectively, I think they're unstoppable. So let's go back to Duke here.
Big 3 contracts that you're simultaneously, or is there order?
There's no order. We can work parallel paths, and we're working parallel paths. If we get farther along and get one pretty close, then we'll try to finalize it. But we're working all paths.
I think you got to work on all those contracts together to figure it out.
Do we need one done? I would like them all done tomorrow, but I mean, need is a hard thing. We're trying to get them done as soon as we can.
I would like to hope. Do we really think they are, though?
When they broke down last summer, it just didn't get over the, he changed his mind, which is fine, and we understood. There's not hard feelings in this stuff. I don't get angry about this kind of stuff. It's just business. And, we're looking out for the 53 players on the team, and a lot of times they're looking out for the one. And that's their job to look out for the one, and their agent's job to look out for the one. And they have to understand it's my job to look out for the totality. And we can't be a 1 or 2 or 3 person team. It's a 53 person team. And when I'm negotiating with a player, I'm almost negotiating on behalf of every other player we have, but we're in position to reward these guys at a high level, and we're willing and able and want to do that, and I'm optimistic that we'll be able to do it.
Optimistic is a beautiful word. They're willing and able. I don't know what else I could tell you, but this guy's come up here and he said everything you want to hear as a Bengals fan. Everything is there. There's no reason you cannot get these deals done. The only way you don't get these done is if these players are asking for astronomical numbers, and I don't see that being the case. I just don't. So these guys better be willing to guarantee money. They better be willing to change, because you need to keep these core players together, not just from a talent perspective. I'm talking locker room too. Like, these are big, pivotal pieces. This is the identity of this franchise. And if you want to signal to other players as well that you give a shit about the talent on your team and you're trying to keep this together, you need to make sure you do this.
What's that? Well, he elected not to do the deal. I don't know if he changed his mind. You can ask him. He probably talks to you about that stuff more than me.
Are you willing to facilitate trade for Pratt after his request for something that makes sense?
On Pratt, am I willing to entertain a trade? I don't announce stuff like that. I will say with every player
Stupid
on our
question,
roster,
buddy.
and with every player on some other GM's roster, I enjoy talking to my cohorts, and they can call me anytime they want. And they can talk about their guys, my guys. They don't need permission for that. I don't need to stand up on a podium. They'll all tell you the same thing. No permission, no public announcement needs to be made. So when I talk about trades, no matter who it's about, it's not going to happen up here. Now, I could lie to you and say yes, no, whatever, but it's not happening up here. And they don't need permission to call me, and I don't need permission to call them.
Okay, well said, Duke.
Jermaine Burton? I've said what I've had to say on that one. I can't want it more for him than he wants it for himself, and he's going to have to demonstrate that. And he's an immensely talented guy. We're not giving up on him, but he's going to have to start showing it now, and he's going to have to take the next step in his career. And I'm hopeful. I like Jermaine. I don't dislike Jermaine. I like Jermaine, and he could add a lot to us. But he's going to have to want it for himself more than I want it for him.
I think we're all frustrated on that topic, man. Jermaine's a talented player and just got too many off the field issues right now. But if he can just turn it around, man. Oh.
I'm trying to scratch for new answers on the same questions that I keep getting. Jamar, how does the negotiation go? I'm pretty run out there. We want them signed. Is it easy? No. Are we up to it? We are up to it. We've done a lot of these things. But the dynamic type questions, maybe I've lost my dynamic nature. I don't know.
It's because the people want to see it, Duke. That's why you keep getting the questions. A lot of
Mike
talk,
Hilton.
not a lot of show.
What was the question on him? Did he express interest? Yeah, we try to communicate with all of our guys, and I don't say definitely yes, and I don't say definitely no with any of them. We'll communicate, see what the prices are, what the opportunities are, who else is available, and what we're doing at other positions with the money. So it's a dynamic situation with a lot of free agents at that level, at that portion of their career. Dax Hill. Yeah, we think he's on pace. We think he's doing well. He was really going to turn that corner. He was about to really explode. He was playing well, and you know, we're going to be talking about a very, very fine corner wherever Al decides to line him up. If he lines him up inside, outside, wherever. We're going to be talking about a fantastic player. He just needs to get back, and normally the second year off an ACL is a little easier than the first year, but I think he's such a dynamic athlete that he might show us that the first year is just as good.
Yeah, big fan of Dax, and I think people forget that we lost our two best coverage players in Dax Hill, DJ Turner. Crazy. Seems like a wrap, though. I mean, if you're a Bengals fan, you're pretty fired up by the way that ended, right? But it all comes down to action, man. We've heard a lot of this stuff. Obviously, the tone there a little bit different than last season. It seems like, you know, that they're trying to get this done, and there should really be no excuse. I don't know if I can accept anything other than all three of those guys returning next year and being signed to contracts, and I expect this stuff to be done early. Like, I don't know what you guys think out there, but I'd be willing to listen and hear what you fellow Bengals fans, have to say about kind of the offseason that we're facing, and obviously the start of it here with the Duke Tobin press conference. We didn't get into the Zach Taylor one yet. I'll do that another day. But encouraging to hear that. Everything's encouraging until you see the tweet, unfortunately, come up from T. Higgins here. Just not pretty. So what So after all this happened, then you get the T. Higgins post on X with the cap. So don't know what that means exactly. We obviously hope that has nothing to do with what Duke Tobin was saying, because that's not exactly encouraging based on what we had thought was going to be encouraging. So we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see what happens here. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to be doing some more Bengals content daily in the offseason here, kind of follow up with some topics. Want to engage with you guys. I know a handful of you out there are Bengals fans. Just want to connect, create conversation, love talking ball. So you guys can throw some comments in the chat based on kind of what we were talking about there. And I'll be doing the Zach Taylor press conference as well. We'll kind of go through some of this stuff, but appreciate you guys tuning in. Play Action Sports. I'll catch you guys on the next episode. All right. Cheers.